Bom, na sequência, ela que é CEO da Curate Purpose. Tem mais de 30 anos de experiência nos setores com e sem fins lucrativos. Ela possui um conjunto diversificado de habilidades, incluindo estratégias globais e desenvolvimento internacional, parcerias corporativas, liderança, empreendedorismo juvenil, desenvolvimento comunitário e econômico, energia renovável e transições sustentáveis, inclusão, desenvolvimento e distribuição de produção, multimídias, entretenimento e programação esportiva, filantropia e iniciativas de arrecadação de fundos. Alexandra é conhecida como uma executiva empresarial de sucesso, com credenciais excepcionais e uma vasta rede de relacionamentos internacionais, tudo contribuindo para a sua capacidade de causar um impacto significativo no desenvolvimento sustentável global. Alexandra Akira.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, Rio. I'm so happy to be here from New York City. I am very grateful to be here with you, Lindalia. You are my angel, and thank you for inviting me back. I came to Rio in 2002 and fell in love with your country and spent a lot of time here, made an amazing amount of friends, and by accident ended up in Buzios, and poor me, and was introduced to a beautiful hotel. Oh,
Nossa.
Oh boy.
Nosso fotógrafo.
Oh, he's okay? You're okay? I know.
Ok, tá bem, tá
I
bem.
didn't mean to. And I ended up in Buzios, and I ended up investing in a hotel. And so I came here for 15 years, about 10 times a year, and had a wonderful time and lots of engagements. And I was involved in New York City with commercial real estate. My family comes from the real estate industry. We developed a lot of communities in Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York. And that is where I really learned how to do community development and work with city, state, and federal agencies. When I first came to New York, I was in the entertainment industry. And my first big job was with MTV. And Nickelodeon, I worked for Viacom as a production assistant, making $350 a week. And within 10 years, I became executive in charge of production and development and developed a lot of original programming for all the networks and did a lot of international co-productions and sponsor-driven programming. And so I really started understanding the power of our voices. And one of the great projects that we did at Viacom was we developed the Children's Noggin Network, and that was about edutainment, entertaining while educating kids at the same time. And so we developed a lot of public service announcements, and I started really understanding the power of the people and how you can change people's minds and communities and so forth. And so I stayed with Viacom for 10 years and transitioned into commercial real estate and worked with C.B. Richard Ellis and Cushman & Wakefield, and I was with both of those companies for about 15 years. And I was asked to join a lot of boards for not-for-profit work, and I live across the street from the World Trade Center and was unfortunately home for 9/11, and I'm a 9/11 survivor. Had to be displaced for 15 months and came back to Lower Manhattan, and about a year later, my daughter and I, and there were a lot of empty buildings in Lower Manhattan at the time. There were a lot of retail space that was empty at the time. So we formed the Lower Manhattan Cultural Council, and we were able to repurpose a lot of buildings and a lot of retail space with art exhibits and dance space and things of this nature. So we really understood how to turn the narrative around so that we would bring people back into the neighborhood. And then we also started the Lower Manhattan Development Council and we created a lot of incentives for building owners with tax exemptions and electricity breakdowns and so forth. And so it really taught me a lot about how to put really interesting deals together for community development. And through all this time, I served on 37 boards of different not-for-profit agencies, and I was asked to go to Washington, D.C. to speak at the American Sustainable Business Council. And I made this great speech, and Obama's environmental secretary was there and said, "You need to go to the UN. You have this great corporate background, you have these amazing connections in the not-for-profit world, and they need people like you to help them with their next agenda." And the agenda that they had on board was the Millennium Development Goals. Those were called the MDGs, and they were transitioning out of that because they were expiring in 2015. And so I became part of the open working group at the Rio Plus 20 conference. And I worked with everyone, all the NGOs. It was the first time at the UN that they actually wanted to listen to civil society and what they wanted for the future of the planet. And so eventually, we were able to speak on the floor of the General Assembly and at all of the co-facilitator meetings. I became friends with everyone at 193 member states and worked across 57 agencies. I've raised over $300 million. And I've created over 150 initiatives that have been launched all over the world. A lot in the youth engagement space, women and girls, technology, innovations, science and technology, STEM, environment, clean water, and then, alas, comes the oceans. And nobody wanted to really, were paying attention to oceans. And so myself and about 6 other people, including, God rest his soul, Ambassador Stewart back from Palau, said we have to put an SDG together for number 14. And Andre, if we can get to the slide for SDG 14. That's, keep going. Here we go. So I helped create this. And so each SDG has targets and indicators, and this is what we were able to form. And I'm very proud of this because it took us a really long time to do it, but we were able to develop the language, create the resolutions, get them adopted, and voila, here we are. We can go, thank you. And so we can go to the next slide, please. I'm trying to rush through this because I know we're a little bit behind. Andre, can we go to the next one? Here we are. So this is something I don't know if you know about, but this is the BBNJ Treaty, which sets up a procedure to establish large-scale marine protected areas in the high seas. I will send this information to you and your team. If you don't know about it, you should know about it, because this all has to do with facilitating the achievement of the targets to effectively conserve and manage 30% of land and sea by 2030. It's the 30 by 30 agreement. This was agreed upon in December of 2022. We can go to the next slide, Andre. This gives you a little bit more information, which I will share. It will give you more of the details of what the framework is and the resolutions and adoptions, which should absolutely, be developed for part of the G20 summit. I hope I get invited to come back and participate. We can go to the next slide, please. This is part of it again, take action, explore, and discover. All about ports, all about renewable energy, carbon emissions reductions. All of what we all want to talk about and really make some solutions and create here in Brazil. And one thing I want to do while I'm thinking of it, my first trip to Brazil, my very good friend Zezé brought me to the Hippie de Feria. Maybe I'm not saying that right, in Ipanema. And so I'm going to today, can you help me with this, please? I'm going to make a promise, because this is what I was told to do. I'm making a promise to Brazil that I'm going to do everything I can to help you. Help me help you. And I really want to engage all of my stakeholders to help you. I am an expert at strategic public-private partners. I know exactly who to go to for what you need here, and it would really be my honor to work with you. I sincerely mean that. I have amazing contacts at all the geospatial companies. Esri is one of my partners who has the best geographic information system platform that will be very helpful for what you are all doing. I have a very strong love affair with Brazil. And I had to take a little break for a while, but I'm back and I'm ready to work. And I really want to engage with you. We can go to the next slide, please. This gives you a little bit more information about the treaty. We can go to the next one, please. We can keep going. This is all available. I'm hoping that you can give this to everybody. Please, absolutely 100%. 100. You can go to the next slide. Keep going. This is a wind farm that's on the way to the Coachella Music Festival in California. I helped develop this. Let's keep going. This is something that you should think about. This is something I'm very proud of. We developed 53 buildings in Ghana, fully funded, that was at the airport for renewable energy, to create the energy to power the buildings and then put it back to the grid. And you make a lot of money doing this. You can really work a lot with the infrastructure companies. And so I did this for many, many, many years. I would love to try to help with some of this here if possible. Let's go to the next slide, please. This is something I'm really proud of. This is my World Merit program. This was launched in 2012. We started with 500 members. We went to over 5 million members. We launched in 153 countries, all around the SDGs. Every single person that became a member, the youth, we had thousands of universities attached to this, lower learning, higher learning, lots of foundations. You can go to the next slide. Andre. This is something we did at the UN, which I think you should totally do here, which is really, really cool. We did big projection mapping on the Secretariat of the UN. This is part of a program that we did to Let's Do It Together, Agenda 2030. There's so much to talk about, but I know I don't have a lot of time. But in the youth space, they are the change makers. You have to engage them. It's our responsibility to do that. I think bringing young people together with older people is critical. I think we both have a lot to learn from each other. This whole creator economy is going to be in the trillions of dollars. These kids that are spending, these Gen Zers, these millennials, they have the spending power, and they want to spend money on products that are going to dedicate some of the money to cause-related projects. That's what we have to do here. That's part of what we have to do together. Let's go to the next slide. These are the partners that we brought in for just one of the projects with World Merit. These are very influential companies, lots of media companies, technology companies, education partners. Go to the next one, please. This was one of my World Oceans Day I brought into my harbor in Lower Manhattan. I live on a marina. This is the Hokulea. It's part of the Polynesian Voyage Society. I proposed to them, we do World Oceans Day downtown across from the World Trade Center, and it was fabulous. We did an amazing job. We had 1,000 Indian tribes that came to Lower Manhattan. Lots of celebrations all day, all in honor of World Oceans Day. This ship, catamaran, is only powered by the sun, the moon, and the stars. No technology at all. Not like some of the ships that are traveling right now, these 100,000 nautical miles that they're doing with renewable energy panels and hydrogen peroxide. This is just complete sun, moon, and stars. It was very cool. We can go to the next slide. The captain and the most famous surfer in the world. Go to the next slide. This was one of the sessions that we created at the United Nations, which I totally think that we should be doing for you in New York, also in Geneva and in Vienna, about what's going on in Brazil and the partnerships that you want to create here. Go to the next slide, please. This was one of the tribes. They were, I mean, it was really fantastic, like something out of the movies. They were amazing, completely dedicated to World Oceans Day and to divesting from fossil fuel engagement. Go to the next slide, please. This is my baby here, too, the COP in Marrakesh. I worked with the entire government for almost 10 years, worked with His Majesty's office, worked with renovating the entire city and all the streetscapes for bringing in, 100,000 people in for this conference. It was really, really amazing. And this is also another one of our projects that we did for Scope at Art Basel in Miami. We created an Art for Impact and Innovation competition. We started with 5 people. We ended up with 50,000 entries over 10 days, and they were featured at Art Basel, and it was amazing to get them engaged. Lots of publicity there. Go to the next slide. This is an amazing artist that I love, Alejandro Duran. He's from New York City. He travels a lot to Mexico. He has collected over 60 different countries' plastic in Tulum, south of Tulum, in Rincon. Can you play that video really quickly? Are we able to do that? No, we cannot. Okay, we'll put it online. It's fine. He's an amazing artist, and I would like to bring him to Brazil. He is a teacher, and he has educated thousands of kids about plastics, microplastics, how they go into the fish, and all of what we know already. But art for education is something that I'm a big, big component of and a big advocate for, and I think that we should do something with him here. Let's go to the next slide. This was the video, but this is Mike Novogratz. We did the Bloomberg Crypto Conference in New York City. They are good partners of mine as well. More media coverage for you. Keep going. This is the Tribeca Film Festival. We did a movie called Gasland around fracking. And we got lots of awards in New York City for it. Yoko Ono is in the front, John Lennon's wife, and she was a big advocate for us in New York about fracking because they tried to frack New York. And I was one of 6 people in New York with Mark Ruffalo that started a small working group, and we ended up with over 100,000 organizations across the United States, and we got a ban on fracking in New York. And it was amazing, amazing. Another example of people's voices, public-private partnerships, creating art, and really getting your voice and message out there. You can go to the next slide. These are some of my partners. And this is what I want to bring to Brazil. So I am ready and willing to work with you. I really think there are some amazing things we can do together here. And I really can't thank you for just this opportunity to be here with you. I have made so many wonderful relationships and new friends, and I'm looking forward to continuing this and really making an impact here. Lindalia, I love you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I'm here to inspire you. Let's inspire each other. Thank you so much.
Fotografia.